Snow Day, Part 1. 11-year-old Mikey was expecting a visit from his friend who had some exciting gossip to share. She was one of his best friends, a 10-year-old girl who lived nearby on the same street. Erin, her name was. She called in often, and in the summer holidays they practically lived in each other's houses. She sometimes brought her younger sister Maya, who was 8. He could see outside his window, waiting for her to arrive, that her little sister was holding her hand, tagging along too. Mikey wasn't in the mood for visitors. He'd had a busy day at school and just wanted to relax, watch TV, and eat his dad's cheese toasties in peace. But Erin did say she had some gossip, so he was more enthusiastic than he ordinarily would be. When Erin was telling stories, she became excitable, and in her excitement she'd usually include a lot of unnecessary details, and Mikey would have to prod her for the interesting information. Fortunately, her younger sister, Maya, would sometimes interrupt and take over the conversation to get straight to the main point. So he bumped into this old man, and get this right, he had 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, with white hair, but it was creepy, Erin said. So? Mikey said, getting bored. Sorry, I forgot to add he had this huge stick with him.
Like a wizard's staff,
Maya added. Still, not that creepy. It was last Monday when it snowed all night, and no one dared leave their houses the next morning because the snow was so thick, but me and Maya go to the park most days to walk Tubbs. For the listener who won't be aware of Tubbs, Tubbs is Erin and Maya's bulldog. A very lovely dog, very placid, always licking his nose. Tubbs always moved exceptionally slowly and needed picking up a lot of the time. Anyway, school was cancelled, so we thought we'd take Tubbs out for a walk in the snow, go to the park and go to the top of that hill just behind. But not a lot of people are out, as you can imagine, because the wind started blowing snow everywhere, and I guess we were the only two, and Tubbs, brave enough to go outside. We had to hold Tubbs in the end, his paws were so cold. I wrapped him up in my jacket and we traipsed up that big hill. I thought if we could get to the top we'd have all that fresh snow to play with, and the trees would shelter us from the wind. We made it to the top eventually, and as I thought, completely deserted, not a peep of anyone in sight. We placed Tubbs back down, he'd warmed up a bit by then, and we ran round in circles, then collapsed on our backs and looked up at the snow falling. When we began to freeze again, we stood up and looked round for Tubbs. We shouted, "Tubbs!" I started panicking a bit because the snow was coming on strong, and we looked from every corner of the field and couldn't find him.
I took one corner of the field, she took the other. Then this whistling sound came.
We ran straight towards the sound of the whistle. There came Tubbs, traipsing out from the woodland. He was carrying this stick in his mouth, but it wasn't like a normal twig or a tree branch. It was carved, like a neatly shaped branch, and it definitely didn't belong to him.
The old man with the white hair came. You know, the one we mentioned from the start.
Yeah, and I know the one, said Mikey. Well, he was the one whistling. Excuse me, but your dog has my stick. Oh, I'm sorry, said Erin, not properly looking at the man who requested his stick. Here, Tubbs, drop, Tubbs. Sorry, he's not listening. Erin had to physically extract the stick from Tubbs's mouth, pleading with her younger sister to help her with her eyes. Sorry, I don't know what's got into him. He's usually well behaved. Here's your, stick, she said, glancing down at the object, which now on closer inspection looked nothing like a stick you'd find in a park. Both were caught up in their own little world, and it took Erin and Maya a few moments before they looked up at the owner of the stick. Completely gobsmacked, their mouths dropped open without them realizing. After a good few seconds of staring, they stopped themselves in case it looked rude to stare for too long at a stranger. Something wrong? The man said. Oh no, nothing.
Nothing at all.
I look a bit odd, don't I? Actually, don't answer that. The girls both laughed nervously, not knowing what to say, because, yes, the man did look rather odd. The man had a snow-white dog resting on top of his head. The dog was as white as the snow that surrounded them, and had his or her tail wrapped around its body, cozied up on top of the man's head. How it balanced way up there with its eyes opening and closing, the children didn't know. They thought it was just a big white hat at first, something they've seen people in exceptionally cold countries wear. But then they saw the small black eyes of the dog, and its tail flicking gently in and out, sometimes getting whipped back straight away by the unusually strong gusts of wind. I know it sounds stupid, but it's almost as if he came from the snow, if that makes sense, Erin said to Mikey. The clothes he wore were a bit too warm for the snow, as if he came from a much colder place. His face was covered with lines, like someone had played noughts and crosses all over it, and when he smiled it was like looking at the bark of the oldest tree trunk. But he wasn't all hunched over, old and decrepit. He was stood up straight, tall and powerful. He commanded our attention. We couldn't take our eyes off him.
That's why, when he spoke to us again, we took every word he said seriously.
What did he say? He spoke loudly, clearly, and in some sort of riddle. The wind was blowing quite strong as he spoke, so it was hard to make out what he was saying, and he left straight after he said it. I remember him saying,
"Listen carefully to what I say. On the next snow day that comes your way, I'll say it once, listen now. Things will turn out terribly. Your fate is sealed. How very unlucky."
Then he was gone, vanished out of sight. Mikey was perplexed. But that last part doesn't even make sense.
It wasn't about making sense. It was the way he said the words. When he said the last part, it was as if he could see into our future, and we believed him.
Fate as in your destiny, your future. Yes.
The thing is, I heard things a bit differently.
What did you hear, Maya?
I heard, "Listen carefully to what I say, blah, blah, blah. On the next snow day that comes your way, blah, blah, blah." But then I heard, "Things will turn out perfectly. Your fate is sealed. How very lucky."
But lucky doesn't even sound right. He definitely said unlucky. The wind came when he started saying unlucky, so you only heard the last bit, lucky. An argument was about to erupt from the girls, Mikey could tell. Girls, please, I come home from school. I just want to watch TV and relax. I don't want to hear you arguing. The sisters looked slightly put out.
Now we have to wait till the next time it snows to see what happens. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
And I'm dreading it. So what are your plans for the next snow day?
I'm going out.
And I'm staying in. But what if it comes along unexpectedly and you're asleep or you don't know it's snowing? I mean, when whatever happens is going to happen, if it does happen, then what if Erin's right and something bad will happen?
What if something good happens and I'm right?
I don't know which one of you is right, okay? But how can you be sure this means anything? He may have just been a very strange man who wanted to scare you. You weren't there. He wasn't a horrible man. He was telling the truth, whatever that truth is. And with that, they both stormed off, slamming Mikey's front door. What on earth was that? Mikey's dad shouted from the other room. Nothing. It was Erin and Maya, but they've gone now. Don't they know you've got homework? I tried to explain to them, Dad. Mikey didn't like upsetting his friends, but a part of him was grateful he could relax now. He didn't mind them telling their story, and he was pleasantly surprised at how interesting it was. In fact, as he turned the television on, he couldn't help thinking over and over again as he watched the football bouncing up and down on the screen about the next snow day and what that meant. Mikey didn't have to wait too long for the next snow day. It was March, but unexpected snowstorms were coming up and down the country. He turned up the volume to hear the news.
There will be snow throughout the UK, with the south of England being mostly affected. Weather warnings have been issued for Wednesday, when Storm Edna takes hold.
Wednesday, Mikey thought to himself, thinking of his friends. Snow day. End of part 1.